Welcome to Paint Ed. PCA provides painting contractors with connections they need to grow their business. To find out more and to become a member, visit pcapainted.org. Find more great content just like this on PCA Overdrive. A subscription to the platform is included with membership. For all you non-members out there, sign up for a free trial. PCA Overdrive is available on the App Store and Google Play. This episode is brought to you by Pittsburgh Paints and Bear.
With the need buyers, you're kind of evoking like fear or, scare. And again, it's not a scare tactic because you're trying to help protect them and help them on this journey. And then same thing with the want side of it, right? It's the positive emotions. It's the good things. This is how you're going to feel. Welcome to episode 2 of our 4-part Sales 401 series here on the Elite Business Advice podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host here for the podcast. Today, we've got Stuart Mackay, one of our advisors and a good friend of mine. I always have to say both because he's not just an advisor and he's not just a good friend. He's kind of a big deal. He's joining us again. We'll be throughout the rest of this series. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about sales psychology. And so if you missed episode 1, we talked through a lot about the fundamentals of sales, the tripping points, why it's so important to have the fundamentals down in your business. I would encourage you to go back and listen to that before diving into this one. We're kind of doing it to where they build on each other a little bit. You don't have to. It's your choice. It's a free country, more than likely. And so, go back, listen to that. I would encourage it. But one misunderstanding I hear, I want to get this out of the way before we even get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. One misunderstanding I hear a lot from people, and when they hear the term sales psychology, or how do we, leverage psychology and thinking a little bit deeper into things that we may do in our sales process, they think it's manipulation. Okay. And from my opinion, it's not manipulation. It's understanding the way they're thinking so that we can communicate how to solve their problem and how to serve them. Right? They have a problem. We know we can help solve them. Like, we need to communicate that to them. It's not manipulating them into booking with you. It's not manipulating, or you should not be doing this. I guess, let me put it that way. It's all about your motives and your intentions, right? And so understanding sales psychology and buyer behavior, consumer behavior, right? The way that we think and make decisions actually will help you help more people if you know your intention's good, your heart's in the right spot, and you are the best fit for their project. We just need to find a way to communicate that to them. So I just want to clear that up because I do hear a kind of a correlation there a lot in the industry about like sales psychology. Well, I don't want to manipulate people into booking with me. Chances are, if you say that, you're not a manipulative person. It's usually the people that are too arrogant to think like, oh, I don't want to manipulate people. They're the ones you got to watch out for. So I'm just saying that. Just same thing with imposter syndrome. Imposters don't think about imposter syndrome. If you've ever thought like, man, I don't want to be an imposter, you're fine. So today we're going to dive into a couple things here, just to highlight overview. We're going to talk about want versus need selling. We're going to talk about how to understand your buyer to connect with them, and how to build 3 pillars of trust into your process to set yourself up for success every single time. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast. Stuart, episode 1 was great, man. You had so much good nuggets and wisdom flowing out of there. If they had to take away one thing from that episode, if they didn't take my advice to go back and listen to the episode last week and they were taking one key thing away from it, what would it be for you?
For me, it would be the 3 core needs.
Yes.
Focus on those 3 core needs. Because I think so much goes into the 3 core needs of, if you didn't listen, like it says, go back and listen. High level, simplicity, certainty, and speed, making it about them, not about you, focusing on the outcome, emotional impact. Which again is a perfect segue into the sales psychology component.
Yes. Did I have my notes screen shared when I typed in what my one thing was? Because that was literally what I typed out: speed, simplicity, and certainty. So I'm glad we're in alignment here on that big takeaway from the episode.
So you're just as awesome as I am then?
Basically, that's what I just heard. I think so. Now it's official out there in the world. So if you didn't take our advice and go back and listen to episode 1, do that. You'll get to understand Stuart, his background, his journey here in the industry. We weren't going to go through that every single episode if you're following directions. So with that being said, I kind of just called out half of our listeners, maybe. Let's just jump into this. I want to jump right into sales psychology. Why is psychology more important than product knowledge when it comes to sales?
Great question. Something I have to battle all the time when we're hiring estimators. So the product knowledge is really easy to first figure out. It's not that complex. The big thing for me, though, is what we've been continuously talking about is focusing on that human being at the other side of this transaction, the other side of this relationship, the person who's put enough trust in you to invite you into their home first and foremost. Understanding what makes that person feel comfortable is going to serve you a lot better in the long run than knowing what a spread rate of a gallon of paint is, and what sandpaper is, because ultimately they don't truly care. They care about how they feel, how you make them feel, and everything else that goes along with feelings and actions.
Yep. There's a very small select group of people in the world. There are special friends that might care about those things. I would also call those orange to red flags in most sales situations. If the homeowner is asking you what grit sandpaper you're going to use on their siding, just keep in mind, you might want to put a PETA tax on that one because you might have some problems with that special person. So,
and having sales psychology, understanding about personalities and things like that allows you to identify who these people are. I had a guy, one of my last estimates I ever done, and I was actually having someone shadow me to teach them sales, and it was perfect. It was as if I set it up this way. He was asking a lot of detailed questions. I said, so what kind of engineering do you do? And he's like, how do you know I'm an engineer? I said, there's no one else on this earth that pays this much attention to detail and the small specifics of how a project's done apart from an engineer. He said, yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer.
Yeah. I love it though, but it's true, right? It's true, but you're 100% correct, right? Product knowledge is important. It's important to understand what products to use and what situations, where to use them, where not to use them, what makes sense for this, right? I mean, there is that side of things, but it's such a, just like we almost should have put that in a fundamental piece of it, because it is more about what's the outcome and what's the result, right? Homeowners aren't going to care. How do we get from you said it in last week's episode, point A to point B? That's a great point. That's what you need to communicate. How do we get from point A to point B, where your house or your interior or your cabinets currently are to where you want it to be at? That's what you need to communicate, not every single step in the process and what sandpaper you use and this primer and that, in one year out the other.
And if you are that person, you do enjoy that, you can still bring light to it if they're talking about, I call it zooming in. You can zoom in on the kind of concerns or whatever the needs they had. But that's why I communicate that step of the process, the 3 Ps, protect, prepare, and paint. And I'll say right off the hop, like, we can dive into any of these parts as much as you want, how I tape, what tape I use. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and just give you the baseline, protect, prepare, paint.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between want versus need selling, or a buyer that has wants versus needs. I think this is a huge thing in the industry, and we see it from a lot of different angles, right? On exteriors is always the obvious one for the need. You got paint failure, you've got exposed wood, you've got, rotting wood or starting, potential rotting wood. That's like an easier one to think of in terms of a need, but sometimes there's a lot of other needs that go into interior projects, other things as well. And so, like, how do you communicate differently to those people? And how do we identify that in a sales situation?
So want versus need buyer for me anyway. Someone that wants it done, someone that talks, how to identify it would be someone that talks about colors and they're tired of the colors and there's emotion consistently attached to what they're talking about. Daughter's going back to school and they've lived in this area for 5 years and it just feels drag. Need is someone that's selling a house, they need to get it on the market. The real estate agent said that it's going to add value. They've came across some hardships. They're a need buyer. They're not going to benefit from it. There's no emotional attachment to it. There's a transactional outcome from it.
Yeah.
There's and maintenance on their biggest asset, like you spoke about, fascia board, raw wood, whatever that may be. That's the difference between a want buyer and a need buyer. Now, how do you then sell to that person or provide for that person? Well, if I've got a want buyer, then I'm going to be very matter of fact. I'm going to tell them about, again, it's all about those emotional outcomes. And the simplistic format would be, you have rotted wood. I can get it done for you within 2 weeks, which is the time frame that you spoke about. It's going to take 2 guys 1 day. I'm not going to mark up the cost of the materials. I'm going to give you the invoices at the end of it. You pay the invoices. This is my labour cost. I'm going to give you a 5-year warranty on it. There's going to be no water ingress. I can guarantee it. Here's some work that we've done in the past. How do you feel about that? That's probably what a need buyer is, because they're cutting through that fluff. A want buyer, someone that's daughter's going back to school and they're tired of the place. When they're going through the process, I'm going to be talking about, like, maybe we spoke earlier about the science of it, the pain and whatever. I'm going to go ahead and add value through that want, that emotion. So I'm going to talk about, hey, like, I totally understand how you must feel. Like, it's a new chapter. Your daughter's starting school tomorrow, but with that, there's also going to be high traffic. Maybe there's going to be more kids coming through. She's going to make new friends. It's exciting. I want to make sure that this feeling that you get when you paint your home and you paint your hallway, the feeling you get, it doesn't last a week. I want to use a high durable paint so that it lasts 5 years. So you're still showing your like little touch on expertise, but you're showing them you have a deeper thought process than what's on the surface. You're thinking about the long-term outcomes of the project you're about to apply for that person. So you're constantly tying it back into that emotional outcome. And that will then be used throughout the process, something along those lines. If someone says, you know, oh, well, I really want this wall to be this colour. And I could say something like, well, you know, that's additional $250 normally for an accent wall. Is that something that aligns with you? Now, that's a great question because it's a very subtle question, but it's now telling me not only are they a want or a need buyer and do they want or need this, it's telling me how price sensitive they are and what's important to them when it comes to price, which will then set me up for further down the track when it comes to actually delivering that price.
That's cool. Yeah. If you're like, oh yeah, that's like no problem at all. Well worth the money, right? You know, like, okay, good. That's not a problem. And like, we have an expectation here. You know, I think as humans, we are emotional creatures, whether we want to admit it or not. And we will do things out of emotion, good and bad. And as we talk about this, if you think about, you know, the need buyers, there's the fear that, and again, I don't ever want to use this against somebody, but to help really convey the message, like, again, talking about an exterior with some exposed wood, like, hey, it's a lot cheaper for us to get this taken care of right now before the wood starts rotting, to get it, you know, sealed up, primed, caulked, painted, protected, versus waiting 5 years from now for somebody to have to come in and rip out all the rotten wood, reinstall new wood, you go through the process. Right? They kind of scare them a little bit, truthfully, because you're trying to protect them, right? Again, this is where I say it's not manipulation, because you're actually trying to help them. It's the same thing when we used to do, you know, when we would stain deck floors, and, you know, we would always tell them like, hey, your deck floor is in pretty good shape right now. It's much cheaper for us to recoat this right now, put 2 good thick coats on here to help protect it, than to wait 3 years and we come back and it's just peeling and we have to strip it. We have to sand it. We almost, you know, maybe even get new boards on it because it's so far gone. It's way cheaper for you to do this now and just keep up with it than it is to let it get out of control and then sink a lot of money into it. Right. So like with the need buyers, you're kind of evoking like fear or, you know, scare. And that, again, it's not a scare tactic because you're trying to help protect them and help them on this journey. And then same thing with the want side of it, right? It's the positive emotions. It's the good things. This is how you're going to feel, right? And I love the empathy that you kind of shared in that, whether you realize it or not. And like, you know, understand like, hey, I understand how it's going to make you feel. Like, here's some recommendations. And I love the way you tied it back into a little bit of product stuff, right? And that's where you can leverage some product knowledge on these things to help in those emotional conversations.
Yeah, it's always about tying it back into that. The people will tell you all the way through what they're looking for whether the guard's up, whether it's not, whether they're direct or indirect or, fluff or rapport, that they will tell you. You just need to be attentive enough and listen. And like what you just said there as well, it ties back into the whole sales psychology. If you're part of the audience that's listening to this, you most likely are going to do what you just said and protect people. So you're talking, and earlier, this is all tying in, and earlier you spoke about brand story. So our brand story at Pedigree with the dogs is about how we protect you from the painting mutts of the industry.
I love it.
And that's the whole thing though. Like if you're a good painter, you have a good company, you have good values, you're focused on the right things, you're using all this in a positive way to protect them from what is possible out there, from the people that aren't thinking.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love that brain story too. I didn't realize that about you, or about Pedigree, I should say. So, but it's true, right? Like our job is to be there to help them, to protect them. That's what they're calling us, right? And so, definitely leverage that and make sure you're doing that and following through with it. And if you're doing that, you're not manipulating. So, let's talk about the 3 pillars. What are the 3 pillars? Why do they matter in every single sale you do?
Yeah. So my 3 pillars, when I'm selling on any job, or again, it's always trying to create the guardrails, is I want to ask, I want to understand, ask and discover. I want to lead with questions to uncover specific needs and past experiences. I want to let the client talk. I want to let them open up. I want to make them feel like they can trust me and trust that they'll trust their own conclusions rather than trust what I've got to say. So I want to let them talk. Then the next step of that is I want to confirm and empathize with them. And then the rest, so that will be reinstate the problem in their words, like make sure I fully understand it. And then the rest will be solving the problem. And I guess I probably would add in a 4th pillar, which is then trial closing, which I think we're going to come to later in the series. So my 3 main ones though, because the close for, and I'm being completely honest a bit about this might seem totally wacky, but the way I've always positioned myself and the way I ask our clients to position themselves, their self, is to educate people. And at the very least, you're not going to get every job. You're probably not going to get 50% of the estimates you go see. So at the very least, you can educate your community on how to make the right decision and how to protect them from those painting mutts or whoever it is. So ask, confirm, and then solve their problems. And sometimes they don't know what their problems are. So that's why I know the simplicity, certainty, and speed, because you do it every day. They do it every 15 years, whatever it may be. Solve their problems without them realizing it. And the benefit to this is, and the way you know you're doing this well, and I talk about 3 aha moments or nodding head moments. You know you're doing well when you're or you feel it yourself when you're buying something else. You're like, or when you go to church, you're like, that pastor's talking directly to me, right? Have you felt that before? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
about every other week.
This is like, he knows I'm here today, right? So that's the whole. I'm totally distracted, but
no, I love it. The aha moments. Yeah,
the aha moments. The moments that feel like it's personal, and it is personal, but it's also personal to 300, 400 other people that you serve that year as well. So focusing on
that's good.
So,
yeah, no, I love that. I think on that note too, it's, it goes back to just being so focused on the relational instead of the transactional, right? Because it is all about how you make them feel. And when you're showing up to get numbers, give a presentation, hope you close it to add to your stats and move on to the next one, you're missing the point, right? You're better off taking time, implementing a lot of the stuff we're talking about, making it relational. And I guarantee you'll see a huge uptick in clients that you're able to serve, and a lot of other trickle effect from there. So, let's talk about mirroring a little bit. I love this as you talk sales psychology. This is a very common thing. This is a common thing in just building relationships with people. So not even selling, but building relationships in general, about kind of mirroring them. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? And then obviously how that can be used in, the homes of people that you're going to do quotes with?
Yeah, I think disclaimer, I don't know if I can say the word mirroring and for an
It's
American.
It's okay. That's
Mirroring.
okay.
It's like girls.
Yeah.
Mirroring. So how I use mirroring is to
I
is
appreciate you're trying so hard. I appreciate the effort here.
because yeah, it's been my life for the last 10 years. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it again. When we're doing that thing,
Yes.
what we're doing is I actually alluded to it earlier when I spoke about the need, and when I was doing my little example, my role play of that one, how I changed my tone. I became very matter of fact. I became very direct. If someone's quite loud and boisterous, then I'll often match that because I'm meeting them at their energy level. And then if they're the opposite of that and they're quite reserved and stuff, I don't want to make them feel overwhelmed. If they're really like shy and speak low, I'll bring my voice down to them. And I actually, before I even knew what that was mirroring, I used to call myself, I'm like a chameleon. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I was doing it. And that's when I used to worry. I was like, am I adapting just to be whoever they want me to be? And I thought that was a bad thing. It's not, because again, I'm in their home. I'm in their most trusted sanctuary, and I want them to feel as comfortable as I can possibly make them feel. And I don't know if you've came away from a conversation, you're like, was that too much for that person, or was that too like, it's not a nice feeling, right? So if you match them, they're going to come away feeling a lot more secure in how they interacted. And it's about eliminating barriers. I don't want them going into the decision of making a sale or choosing a paint contractor and thinking, well, that person might have think I was too loud and boisterous, or he might have thought I was too reserved. Like, I want to eliminate all of that stuff. So I want to focus on what their personality is like, mirror their personality, and just create
That's great.
by feeling all around the board.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to put that in a good, like, again, understand the psychology on why we're trying to do this too, right? It's not just, hey, do this. It's like, here's why this is impactful for people. And I think when you do focus on mirroring that with them, it, again, it allows them to feel comfortable. And, I think another human, trait, I learned this in How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. They always talk about whoever gets to talk the most is going to be the one that walks away feeling good about the conversation, right? So you mentioned earlier, like asking questions, right? And kind of being able to mirror and do some of this stuff. If I'm asking them a lot of questions, getting to know them, I'm going to leave and they're going to be like, wow, I really enjoyed that conversation, because they talked about themselves the whole time, right? We are, again, human beings. Like, if you boil things back to just like the core fundamentals of who we are as human beings, we all want to talk about ourselves. We love to talk about ourselves. Well, I don't care what you say. You love to talk about yourself and share what's going on in your life. And when people ask questions and you get to do that, they feel like, wow, I really connected with that person, right? And so sales isn't dominating the conversation. And if you're there, with them for 40 minutes and you're talking for 38 of it, that's not a good thing. You want them talking for like 35 of it outside of your presentation and the questions you're asking about the scope of their project. Right. Like, and so again, as we're talking about being relational, be focused on getting them to open up, getting them to answer questions, but you have to do that through mirroring them. Because again, if you're loud and boisterous, they're quiet and reserved, they're never going to open up and talk. If you are quiet and reserved and they're loud and boisterous, well, I guess that might work a little bit because they'll dominate the conversation, but you should still try to mirror them again to have that comfortability, so that they will open up and continue to talk more. And again, leave feeling good about that conversation, because everybody second guesses every conversation ever. So you and I will second guess this when we hop off here. Like, did we say that right? Did we communicate what we were trying to do? It's just it's what we all do, unfortunately.
Just on that bonus little section that we haven't really discussed, but I don't know if it was in that book as well, but if you're actually selling, I've got a few clients going through this right now who are selling to groups. So it might be multi-unit, it might be commercial, where there's maintenance and then management and then owners, whatever it may be. Like, a really good way to think through sales psychology in that setting, if you are that person, would be to identify who the main person is that everyone's looking to seek their approval, and communicating directly with that person. So that's another, like, maybe mirroring, but definitely a bit of sales psychology where you get their approval and then everyone else's approval will fall in line.
That's a really good point. Because that's not an easy thing to navigate when you have 5 different people with 5 different personalities.
And it's overwhelming for people. So just focus on one, because that's truly all that's going to matter is that one person. So,
yep. Good. Last question here for this episode before we hop into next week's episode and a quick preview on that. How does serving buyers through all of the sales psychology and everything we're talking about, how does that really set the stage for repeat referral work and a longevity of a relationship?
Well, I hate to keep coming back to it, but for me, it's because you're making them feel good. So when they go into work, they're like glowing, they're happy, they got their house painted, and it was simple, it was easy, the process was seamless. They called me today at lunchtime and made sure I was still happy 5 days later, but to see if there was any touch-ups I noticed as I was living in the home, because they're not crawling around the floor with their child at night. So that would be kind of my big thing. That would be my big takeaway anyway on how it should serve you over the long term. I don't know.
I think for me, I think it's good. I think for me, what I would always say on this too is, and I've shared this probably before on some episodes, is like the best compliment that you can get is getting referrals before you even show up to apply paint. Right? Like that to me told me that like our sales process is dialed in. We're connecting with people. We're making them feel good. We're building confidence and trust. We're likable. We're all the things that I want to hit on psychologically in a sales relationship. We're doing those things. Like they haven't even experienced our paint job yet, and they're already referring us to people because they go to work and they're like, man, I had this contractor come in yesterday and we really hit it off. He was super sharp, like really, has a great company and a great process. And like, they're doing all these things and talking about it. And we haven't even shown up to do anything yet. We're booked out 6 weeks and we're not there, and they're already giving us referrals. Right. And so I think if you can focus in on this and building those relationships and making people feel good and excited and trustworthy and confident in working with you, you will see referrals before you even show up to do a job. And then obviously again, after, because you're going to show up and prove your process, as you said last week, and knock it out of the park. Right. And so for me, I think that's a huge thing, and why all of this matters, because you might be able to sell 40% of your jobs just strictly transactional. Okay, great. But you're probably not getting a lot of referrals and stuff on top of it. Maybe a couple here or there. Right. And so like be relational with it. Not only do I think it will increase that close rate, but you're going to get more referrals on it because your sales is so good. You're getting referrals before you even show up.
And you're getting referrals to the right kind of people, because you're the people you're selling to who like you, who are saying yes, who are willing to pay a little bit more for all the things we've spoke about, are going to be referring you to other similar circles, which will increase your closing rate, which means your estimate. Everything just gets better. By doing so.
Could not agree more, man. Could not agree more. Well, thanks for everything you've had to share here with this and the psychology. Next week, part 3, we're going to dive deeper into building a framework, building that repeatable process to continue to make it work for you every single time, to take the guesswork out of it. There shouldn't be any thoughts, any questions. Should I do this? Should I pivot? It's a process that you follow every single time. And we'll see you on next week's episode. I hope you enjoyed that episode and were able to take away a few nuggets to implement into your business. If you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. We at Elite Business Advisors are a huge supporter of the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association. If you're not familiar with the PCA and all of the benefits of membership, I highly recommend you check it out at www.painted.org. That's PAINTED.org. It looks like painted. And last but not least, if you're looking for an outsider's perspective as you navigate growth, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. We work with painting contractors all over North America to help them treat their business like a business. Our entire team of advisors all have experience in owning and running a painting company, so you aren't just getting a team that is teaching off of theory, but tried and true application of principles and systems. Thanks so much for listening in today. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you back next week.
Paint Ed podcasts are produced by the Painting Contractors Association and are made possible by members and industry partners. To find out more about the upcoming educational opportunities or for more information about joining the PCA, visit pcapainted.org.